The 49ers just got great news relating to impact players dealing with injuries. Now, a lot of these updates are going to directly impact who's playing and who's not playing in Sunday night's matchup versus the Chicago Bears, but we also finally got an update on a potential return of one of the best players in football for this year's playoffs. We're going to break that all down for you on this episode of Niners Digest. My name is Ethan Galbraith. I hope everybody's been having a great holiday season. Make sure to subscribe to the channel because we've noticed over 97% of you haven't quite done that yet. It's free to subscribe. Make sure to do so you don't miss any Niners updates because we're going to give you everything we got, including players who might not be able to suit up for this Sunday night's matchup versus the Bears and who might actually make a return this weekend as well. It's been billed all week as one of the most important matchups in the NFC and the NFL as a whole. Bears, Niners, Sunday night, Levi Stadium. I already have my jersey on. I'm so excited for this game. But we have to keep track of the injury updates and who's actually going to be available for the Niners in a matchup that can determine the number one overall seed. Both teams are still available, fighting for the number one seed. And here's a major one right here. Starts with two players that we've been keeping eyes on with injuries. First off, Ricky Pearsall. He returned to practice today, which is huge. Of course, he missed Monday night's game against the Colts with re-aggravated injuries, and it looks like he's going to be green to go for Sunday night versus the Bears. Ricky Pearsall, of course, been up and down with availability all season, but down the stretch as of late, before he got hurt again, was playing as a great number one receiver for the Niners. Hopefully he can, if he's good to go, he can have that energy again because we all know the Niners are going to need it against a very good Bears team. But the second player we're looking after is George Kittle. Of course, Kittle got hurt in Monday night's matchup versus the Colts. He got an ankle injury, and he avoided the high-grade ankle sprain, as I mentioned in my last video. But it's still an ankle sprain, and people are looking after it. You don't want George Kittle to re-aggravate an injury and make it get worse, especially with an ankle injury. So it's something that everybody's been keeping an eye on. John Lynch has spoken about it as well. I'll get to that in a second, but just showing the impact of George Kittle and how they're kind of in a middle ground with him because, of course, if he plays Sunday night against the Bears, he will have an impact. He's been playing lights-out football. I keep saying it, stacking great games on great games on great games, and the statistics reflect that. These stats also include the fact that he has only played 10 games this year. He missed multiple games earlier in the season due to a hamstring injury that he hurt in week 1. So his availability has been limited already, but he still has been a super effective playmaker on this offense. And this isn't even including his capabilities in the run game. Now, John Lynch talked about this previously earlier this week, and he talked about how Kittle will be likely a game time decision. And that's not obviously something you would love to hear. He talks about it more here. He says, quote, "We'll see where things goes, where this thing goes. George is doing everything he can, just like Fred Warner. That will be one that goes down to Sunday evening." Of course, that's not the best thing you want to hear, but on the bright side, he hasn't been ruled out. All things look like it's trending upward in terms of his availability, but I would not be surprised if George Kittle is not good to go for this game. Yes, the Niners want to try and get that one seed. That's been on their mind. They're in the playoffs already. Now it's all about where they get the number one, where they land in the playoffs. And Kittle's going to be a huge impact player for these final two games. But if he plays in this game and gets hurt again, then we have bigger issues with long-term in the playoffs and beyond. So I don't know. I really don't think that it should be a guarantee that he's going to shoot up. If it's a game time decision, I really still think there's a good chance he doesn't play, but that's something you also want to, of course, keep an eye on because without George Kittle, you then rely on Luke Farrell, Jake Tonjes, who those two are very serviceable tight ends, but of course, without Kittle, the passing game, Brock Purdy has one less option to throw to, and the run game has suffered a lot with and without Kittle. We've seen the statistics, how the run game drastically changes in yards per carry, and the Niners just had a great game on the ground Monday against Indianapolis. So you would like to keep that momentum going, but it would be a struggle if Kittle isn't good to go. But it hasn't been confirmed yet. We'll have to wait and see. It's likely going to be a game time decision, so we'll keep following it as we get closer and closer to the actual game. But we got another big news. This is the one that I have been alluding to. I've talked about it kind of on the side throughout multiple videos. I didn't know this was coming, actually. But we got an update as well about Niners linebacker Fred Warner. In that same interview that John Lynch gave talking about George Kittle's availability, he spoke about Fred Warner. And Chase Sr. tweets about it here. He goes, "According to Niners GM John Lynch, the 49ers are re-examining a potential playoff comeback for Fred Warner." Now, for some people that may sound like a whole lot of nothing in terms of actual updates, but that is a pretty big update. John Lynch, he goes further into it here in the same interview. He goes, quote, "They," as in referring to the doctors, "are going to put objective measurements out there. Hey, if you can reach these, you can get there." And Fred has continually done that. I think it's made a lot of people re-examine, hey, would this be possible? I think that's a great thing. So I'm watching him. I've consistently said it. I won't put anything past him. I won't put anything past him. Now, that is something that you almost think is crazy to say, but this is the best linebacker in football. This is one of the best football players in the NFL. You really can't put anything past him. Not much gets past him on the field, so this shouldn't at all really be a surprise, but just think about this. Where you were when Fred Warner got hurt in the Tampa Bay game. It was a gruesome injury. Everybody saw it. But the idea was that without Fred Warner, this team cannot win a championship. I think that was a shared thought around a lot of people, combined with all the other injuries. But Fred Warner is the captain of this team. He alters the ceiling drastically of this team. And now, without Fred Warner, the Niners have continued to win. They're now on a major winning streak right before nothing but home games, ideally, for the rest of the season. And now they're talking about him potentially coming back. That is huge. Of course, we don't want to get our hopes up. I've said this previously. I've given updates on Fred Warner's injury before that the Niners have given. And I always said to myself and others that we don't want to get our hopes up yet, because there's still a very good possibility that he just doesn't come back. He's not able to. And we can't fault him for that, obviously. He's dealing with a very major injury. But a lot of updates that keep coming out about Fred Warner and his injury are all about how he's ahead of schedule. John Lynch just talked about it, how doctors give him objectives and he meets those objectives. And even they're questioning, could this be possible? So now you enter into a realm of kind of uncharted territory, because if Fred Warner is ahead of schedule, will he be good to go? Does he check all the boxes? Because you don't want to risk re-injuring the number one player on the defense and arguably the number one player on this team. So it's very dicey, I still kind of want to say, but it does look very promising. It's almost as if the Niners the team holds up their end of the bargain and keeps winning, and they just get to that final checkpoint. The light at the end of the tunnel is Fred Warner coming back. We have to wait and see, of course, but the Niners are already getting into the playoffs. So they're playing January football. Can they just keep winning? If they keep winning, is Fred Warner going to be waiting for them for Championship Sunday, whether it's at Levi Stadium or it's on the road somewhere else? Will he be good to go? But this is all the more important reason why the Niners just got to keep winning. If they can get the number one seed, I think that really does raise the probability of Fred Warner being able to come back, because it's just at home. So my final thoughts are this. Dub City has been carrying on without its mayor. But its mayor might be coming back sooner than we think. But it all starts this Sunday. You got to get another dub at home versus the Chicago Bears. The Ricky Pearsall injury update seems promising. It looks like he's going to be good to go. The George Kittle injury news, still not a green light. John Lynch says it's likely going to be a game time decision, so we can't guarantee that he's going to be good to go. But if the Niners can scrap out another win and then another one next week, you take it one game at a time, so it starts this week, it looks like you just get closer and closer to a potential return of this man. And if this man comes back, nobody in this league, nobody in the NFC, nobody in the league, nobody wants to play the Niners. They really don't. Nobody really wants to play him anyways in the playoffs. But if Fred Warner comes back after everything that he's dealt with this season, that would just be the cherry on top. You really don't want to play a fired up Fred Warner in a Niners team that has been told all season that they shouldn't be where they are. We'll keep you updated, of course, on everything that goes on. If George Kittle ends up playing, if Ricky Pearsall ends up playing, and what his production looks like, as well as do we hear more about Fred Warner week to week? Because if it's as promising as people say, as John Lynch says, do we hear more about him consistently? We'll keep you updated on all of that, of course. But for now, that's all for this episode of Niners Digest. Thank you again so much for watching. My name is Ethan Galbraith, and we will see you in the next video.